Ever felt like you're living in a movie only you can see, where your daydreams are more vivid than reality, and every choice passes through a silent committee of values, feelings, and what-ifs? Welcome to the mind of an INFP. They're the quiet kids who write epic novels in the margins of math notes, the peace seekers who'd rather heal a wound than win an argument, the wanderers who can read a sunset like a love letter. Yet behind that gentle smile is a maze of fiery convictions and seismic emotions few ever glimpse. So, how does an INFP really tick, and why does the world need their brand of quiet magic now more than ever? Stick around, because by the end, you might just see your own inner world in a whole new light. If you crave more mind-bending dives into personality science, tap like, smash subscribe, and share this video with that one friend who's practically a walking poet. Let's grow this curious community together. Picture the most ordinary classroom you've ever sat in: chalk dust drifting, clocks ticking, fluorescent lights humming. Now zoom in on the quiet kid by the window, eyes unfocused, pencil stalled mid-sentence. They're not bored, they're jumping galaxies. In the space of a single lecture, the INFP can storyboard a fantasy epic, compose an apology they'll never send, and redesign society's moral framework, all before the bell rings. Their inner world isn't an escape hatch, it's a control room where reality gets repainted in richer colors, making daily life feel like a grayscale rough draft. Yet that cinematic mind isn't just special effects flair, it's where the INFP quietly test drives real-world choices. Before they voice an idea, they've already run it through a dozen imagined scenarios. How will my words land? Will anyone feel hurt? Could this ripple into something beautiful? This constant rehearsal means their spontaneous insights arrive fully formed, like polished gemstones pulled from a pocket. But it also explains why they sometimes pause mid-sentence. They're flipping through mental storyboards, searching for the version that feels truest. To outsiders, it's silence; to the INFP, it's quality control. Imagine walking through a dense forest at dusk. The path twists, shadows stretch, and every fork feels like a gamble, unless you're carrying an unbreakable compass. For an INFP, that compass is values. Long before society starts negotiating shades of grey, they've etched their principles in bedrock: fairness over convenience, authenticity over popularity, compassion over efficiency. It's why they'll quietly refuse a harmless shortcut or defend a stranger's feelings at the expense of their own comfort. Their convictions aren't decorations, they're load-bearing pillars. Break one, and the whole inner cathedral trembles. But carrying a moral compass this sharp can cut both ways. What happens when the boss wants numbers, not nuance? Or when friends tease, "Don't be so serious, it's just a joke." For an INFP, every compromise feels like smudging a fresco they've spent years perfecting. They'll agonize over signing a birthday card that praises a coworker they secretly know is cruel. They'll lose sleep after snapping at a sibling, replaying it like a crime scene. It's exhausting, but it's also why, when an INFP tells you they believe in you, you can trust they've weighed every syllable. Picture an antique museum case: thick glass, brass hinges, soft light, protecting something fragile yet priceless. That's how an INFP houses their emotions. On the surface they may look calm, almost ethereal, but inside, feelings bloom in IMAX, joys burst like fireworks, grief echoes like cathedral bells, anger shocks like a sudden storm. Because the volume knob is always set to 11, they've learned to tuck those emotions behind polished glass, sharing only with the few who prove gentle enough to handle them. To everyone else, they appear serene, even mysterious, never suspecting the symphony playing just inches behind the pane. Yet even the thickest glass can crack. A careless remark, a sad song on shuffle, a stranger's kindness, any of these can tap the pain and flood the room. When that happens, the INFP may retreat to regroup, journaling feverishly or disappearing on a long, headphone-laden walk. They're not being dramatic, they're preventing a tidal wave from spilling over innocent bystanders. But invite them into a space of genuine empathy, and the glass slides open. Suddenly you're sharing laughter so pure it feels like sunlight, or tears that wash old wounds clean. That vulnerability isn't weakness, it's a trust badge. Ever get a text that reads like a riddle wrapped in a haiku, moonlit coffee emoji, and wonder what on earth it means? Welcome to INFP Speak. They treat language less like a tool and more like watercolor, splashes of imagery, feelings smuggled between the lines, emojis chosen with novelist precision. Small talk feels claustrophobic, they'd rather skip to the soul stuff, your childhood fears, the dream you keep ignoring, the shape of hope. And when they finally speak aloud, expect sudden bursts of eloquence, as if a shy record player finds full volume for the chorus. Of course, this lyrical style can sow confusion. Colleagues here, maybe we could rethink the vibe. And miss the blazing conviction underneath. Text-laden ellipses disguise nerves, 3 carefully stacked exclamation marks shout excitement their voice won't. The secret decoder ring. Listen for subtext and watch their eyes, emotion flashes there long before it reaches their lips. Give them a beat to gather thoughts and they'll spin a story that rearranges the furniture in your mind. Miss the beat, and you'll mistake depth for distance. So, are you ready to speak fluent INFP? Falling for an INFP feels less like dating and more like stumbling into a secret garden, lush, fragrant, and fiercely tended. They'll memorize the way you stir tea, sketch your laugh in their journal, and build playlists that trace your entire emotional landscape. Loyalty. Think lighthouse in a storm, steadfast. Yet they're slow to unlock the gate, trust grows only when words and actions rhyme. Offer surface-level chatter or play emotional games, and the vine's quietly close. But share your raw edges, your midnight doubts, your impossible hopes, and watch them weave you into stories they plan to tell the stars. But every sanctuary has shadows. When conflicts flare, the INFP's instinct is flight over fight, retreating to sort tangled feelings before sparks become wildfires. Silence here isn't apathy, it's triage. Push hard and they may vanish like mist, protecting the bond by stepping back. Yet once they've named the hurt, they return with disarming honesty and a blueprint for healing. Break their trust, though, and the garden gates clang shut, sometimes forever. Still, for those who stay, love with an INFP is a lifelong invitation to grow, wonder, and believe that kindness can rewrite the plot. Of course, passion can't pay rent alone. INFPs wrestle with the grind, invoices, office politics, the dreaded circle back. They thrive in roles that blur art and empathy, UX writing, therapy, ethical brands, education, preferably with flexible hours and headphones allowed. Remote work. Chef's kiss. Micromanagement. Kryptonite. Their growth edge is learning to translate vision into actionable, bite-sized tasks before inspiration sprints ahead and leaves logistics gasping. When they balance idealism with systems, think Trello boards decorated like vision boards, they become quiet powerhouses, weaving meaning and metrics into the same tapestry. So how does the dreamer disarm these dragons? First, retreat to recharge is non-negotiable. Think nature walks, playlists that feel like hugs, or scribbling emotions into a journal. Second, externalize the swirl, talk it out with a trusted ally who listens without fixing. Third, tame the chaos with bite-sized structure, simple to-do lists, Pomodoro timers, or a tidy workspace. And finally, reaffirm core values, read a mission statement, volunteer for a cause, revisit art that reminds them why they care. When an INFP realigns with purpose, the storm clouds lift and the candle glows brighter than before. Think of an INFP's potential like artisan sourdough starter, brimming with life, but only truly rises when fed consistently. Habit is that daily flower. Start micro, 2 minutes of morning pages, 1 gratitude note on the fridge, a single Pomodoro block for the boring stuff. These tiny, repeatable rituals create scaffolding so inspiration can climb higher instead of floating off like a loose balloon. Pair this with deliberate body-mind resets, yoga stretches between tasks, blue sky breaks on the balcony, and watch focus sharpen without smothering creativity. In short, nurture the routine, and the muse shows up on schedule. Need proof that quiet dreamers can move mountains? Meet the INFP Hall of Fame. Scroll emoji. First up, J.R.R. Tolkien, a soft-spoken Oxford Don whose private languages and wartime daydreams birthed Middle-earth, reshaping modern fantasy. Then Emily Bronte, the reclusive poet who spun raw emotion into Wuthering Heights, a novel still rattling hearts nearly 2 centuries later. Fast forward to Princess Diana, empathy personified, turning royal spotlight into a beacon for AIDS patients and landmine victims. And don't forget indie powerhouse Florence Welch, whose lyrics read like diary pages set to thunderous drums, echoing every INFP's need to turn feelings into art. Fiction mirrors life, so screenwriters keep casting INFP magic. Frodo Baggins accepts an impossible quest because, deep down, he can't bear a world poisoned by greed. Amélie Poulain roams Montmartre mending strangers' loneliness through secret acts of whimsy, classic values-driven introversion. Newt Scamander from Fantastic Beasts would rather talk to bowtruckles than politicians, yet his compassion topples dark regimes. Even children's icon Paddington Bear, polite, accident-prone, eternally hopeful, channels pure INFP energy. Notice the pattern. Each character wields gentleness like a sword, proving that soft hearts can carve epic story arcs. Zoom out on our planet for a moment. Headlines scream, algorithms polarize, deadlines sprint. In a world sprinting on caffeine and quarterly targets, the INFP offers something rarer than Wi-Fi in the wilderness: a pause. They remind us that progress minus purpose equals emptiness, that empathy can be a strategy, not a slogan. It's the INFP who spots the intern's tear before the manager's memos, who drafts policies in the language of dignity, who turns a bland campaign into a story that actually matters. Their superpower? Rethreading the human fiber through the machinery we keep building faster. Imagine boardrooms where curiosity outweighs ego, classrooms where wonder trumps test scores, cities designed with poetry tucked between the steel beams. That's the future INFPs quietly sketch on cafe napkins. They're the conscience in the code, the lullaby in the data, the exhale after the battle cry. So next time you meet someone who listens more than they speak, who asks, "But how will it feel?" don't mistake softness for smallness. They're the slow-burning lantern lighting paths the rest of us haven't learned to see yet. And if you're that lantern, don't dim. The world is darker without you.